Welcome, everybody, to another Fit Drivers podcast, of course, brought to us by our good friends at 10th Street. And so today I'm really excited about this particular guest that we have on here. This is the first time we've had someone on in this category that has a unique way of delivering wellness services and benefits to the companies. In this episode, we're going to be talking to Tyson Funk. He from Functional Lifestyle, whose mission is to transform workplace wellness from a check-the-box benefit into a driver of human performance and organizational success. So let me tell you a little bit about Tyson before I bring him on, so you have a little bit of understanding of what Tyson's about and what he does. But he's got over 25 years experience in the employee benefit industry. His expertise is problem solving, with a particular emphasis on employee engagement, technology, long-term risk control, has enabled him to achieve success across various facets of the health insurance sector. A full-service benefits and risk management firm, AI-driven benchmark benefits tools. The next generation of preventive care is Functional Lifestyle. Tyson, welcome, my friend. Thanks for coming on today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Bob. I appreciate it. Good seeing you.
You bet. So, Tyson, I know we got a lot to discuss here, and we got to pack it in here in about 30 minutes. But I want to first start by you giving our audience a high-level overview of your impressive wellness model that you have built. Go ahead.
Sure. Well, thank you for the compliment. We're pretty proud of it, and the market seems to be loving it. It's a preventative care model with functional medicine wrapped into it, some AI and tech, and it seems to be a really good package that employers and employees are really gravitating to. We call it Functional Lifestyle. We're at functional-lifestyle.com, and we view it as the next generation of wellness, actually proactively driving employee health. And just not just driving it, but actually where some of the wellness really fell flat in the past is having the data and to back it up, to show the value that it's bringing and the impact. So we believe we've solved the three biggest problems that most employers seem to have, which is with the old, let's say the old style of wellness, which is number one is funding, is how do you fund it? And two, once you fund it, you can have fantastic programs, but can you get engagement? And then if you get that engagement, can you document the impact? Can you show that you're bringing any value? So we believe we have those. We have those figured out pretty well. So what we've done in this package is we put a couple dozen benefits from zero copay telemed and mental health services to thousands of generic pharmaceuticals at no cost, which is great because it takes your pressure off your health plan. There's addiction recovery in it. One thing that we see employees really gravitating to is the functional medicine side. So an actual functional medicine doctor who looks at not just symptoms, but cause and effect. Access to dietary coaches, GLP-1s for those who don't have a medical reason, so they can't get that through their health insurance. Exercise and movement coaches to, one of the things we hear quite a bit is, hey, my guys sit and drive all day. And how do we keep them active? How do we keep their mobility up? How do we help them not twist a knee when they're stepping out of their trucks? How do we do all those things? So we built all that into this program. And most of the time we can implement this to an employer and for a company at no cost to the employee or the employer, which has made it highly desirable.
Well, you said something which is very true, and it's always been a challenge in the wellness space for me and whether it's drivers or the everyday corporate employees, is how do you validate the wellness, right? How you get the return, because all the companies are going to want a return, and how do you demonstrate that and show that? And typically you can get the number one, they want engagement. So typically you can show the engagement, but the value proposition after that is, okay, are they drinking the Kool-Aid, right? Are they following the suggestions and tips that you're bringing to them and trying to live a healthier lifestyle? So, those key points are obviously what you've helped figure out into this model. But what really that in our discussions prior to coming on the podcast that I found very unique is that you're able to do this and integrate this program for these companies at no cost. And in many cases, they actually can receive value back at the end of the year. Is that correct? Per employee?
Yes, that's accurate. So we use administration of some tax incentive programs that the IRS has under. I mean, there's multiple of them. They have to be done in the right way, have to be tracked the right way. You have to check all the boxes when you're administration, but through throw out a handful of codes for you here through 213D, 106A, 105B, 104. So under your traditional Section 125 health insurance plan that allows health insurance to be pre-taxed, that allows 401ks to be pre-taxed, HSAs to be pre-taxed, those provisions, there's provisions under there for preventative care if administered correctly. So this creates the funding for the product, and we use it too to create an incentive behind it too, which is pretty key. So that creates a savings for the employer and it creates a savings for the employee. Every dollar the employee saves, the employer saves a matching FICA on in most industries. So yes, sir.
No, so that's a very good point, and that's what I wanted you to talk about. Is how is that identified? How do you do that through those codes? Now, is that something? The other part about this is I wanted to make sure that the listeners, and especially any HR people and all that, everybody today, of course, as you know, wear several different hats. So, how big of a lift is this going to be for them to help work through and understand these codes and do all that, or is that something that your company administrates? So that's a big piece of this I want to get across to listeners is how heavy a lift, how much involvement are they going to have to take on to participate in this program, even though it's free?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, so from an administrative standpoint, it's easy. It's an easy lift. We find that HR typically is pretty busy. Their plates are pretty full, and the last thing they want is another task. So typically this ties back to one or two additional payroll deductions. The compliance piece is handled by our compliance, our ERISA attorneys, all that, set up all the documents, file everything the way it needs to be filed. And so the employer's responsibility is essentially just administering a program and deductions. Obviously, there's non-discrimination is involved in those types of things, but those are the things that they do with any program that they offer.
So is this reimbursement you're talking about, or I shouldn't say reimbursement, the tax benefit, is this come at the end of the year on the participation, or is it something they receive back monthly when they're doing their payroll?
Yeah, so actually they're not receiving anything back. Let's just say it's if my FICA responsibility as an employer per payroll reduces. So it's just a reduction of payroll taxes, your matching FICA tax. So if the employee has a reduced taxable income because it's funding this program, then you as an employer have a lower responsibility to match.
Okay. So that's where you're seeing the financial reward from it, basically. Right?
Yeah. So it's an immediate impact first payroll.
Right on. Okay. So, and what about the engagement of the employees? So, how do you really achieve, some of the things that you and I talked about, where you're seeing a pretty good percentage of engagement, typically more so than you see in typical wellness programs? How are you making that happen? You mentioned something about when they say certain steps, download the app or do this or do that, they can receive, did I understand correctly, a gift card?
Yes, we reward positive behavior. That's a key component of this program. So number one, you have to have programs. You have to have, let's say, services that employees are interested in. They want something that brings value to them, that they have interest in, and everybody's going to have different interests. Whether it's movement, whether it's dietary, whether it's I'm not sleeping very well, it could be a number of things. So our goal is to have as many categories or as many services as we can to engage interest. So that's number one. Number two is we wrap this in a technology. The technology that we use actually last week announced that they're a finalist in X Prize Health Span, which is an ongoing contest. I think first prize is around $100 million.
Whoa.
And they made the top 10 cut. So several hundred technologies started down this road. I think it was 200 or 300. And the premise of the program is you have to show that your technology can improve. And you do a quick Google search on it would explain it much better than myself, but that you can engage employees, that you can improve health and improve health span. So your biological age. And those are the points. And so our technology has made it to the finals there. And it does really good. It's a really good intuitive software that engages employees. And we get this for engagement, and then we put an incentive behind it. So we take, as an example, let's say you have, well, I'll back up one step before the engagement. If we take this app and an employee has an Aura Ring, they have a Apple Watch, or they're just using their phone, we can sync this app up to track their activity if they want to do it, to track their sleep, to track their respiration, to track their heart rate, anything that they want to track. They can snap a picture of any type. Anytime they eat, they can snap a picture, and it will tell you the dietary content of that meal. And so it doesn't take long to build a profile for yourself, to learn the caloric intake, et cetera. Well, the cool thing is now if you go see your movement therapist, they know how many steps you're moving every day. They know your activity. They know your heart rate. The same with your functional medicine doctor. They know how you're sleeping. They know what you're eating. You can share all that data with them. So it creates this ecosystem of knowledge that somebody actually, instead of, hey, when you talk to your doctor, something feels off a little bit, you can actually have a more in-depth conversation with that physician, with that care provider, to try to figure out what's going on with you and your health situation. And then the incentive comes in. There is a financial incentive. So when we set this up, we typically set it up to where there's $7 to $10 per month of incentive goes into an incentive engagement fund. So let's say you have 2,000 drivers and we're at $10 a head. We'll make my math easy. That's $20,000 per month, 20 times 10, or 2,000 times 10. That's going in that engagement fund every month. We use that to incentivize engagement. So an example of that would be, let's say we start a program, we would incentivize loading the app. That seems to be the hard part, Bob, is how do we get somebody to load the app? So we just market it out to them. We email blast them, we text them, however we have it set up, and just say, hey, Bob, if you load the Functional Lifestyle app, we'll give you a $25 Visa gift card. And we give them a window to do it, because if we give them months, they won't do it till the end of the month, whatever that is. So maybe it's $25, maybe it's $50, but we get them to do that. Then we give them an incentive to set up their profile. And then once that's all set up, that's when the fun starts. That's when we can get them to sync it up to whatever their health device is, if they have one. We can set up a hydration challenge. So we have these people competing against these people, or everybody's a free-for-all, or this department against this department. Maybe it's a step challenge. And then we can create really, really cool prizes. So that might be, a $500 gift card to Amazon that drops at the middle of November, just in time for Black Friday, for Christmas. Maybe it's Apple Watches. So maybe the top 5 get an Apple Watch. So our goal is to use these incentives to find out what's important to people. We recently, you'll get a kick out of this. We recently had a company that's very hardcore blue collar. They do underground boring. And the guy said, "Hey, I think this is fantastic. My guys will never do this. You'll never get them to load an app. They will never participate." And we said, "Well, what if we bribe them to set up the app? And what if our first challenge is a step challenge and first prize is a $500 Bass Pro gift card?" And he paused for a second. He said, yeah, my guys would go for that. Right. So it's finding what's important to people. That's our secret sauce to get people engaged, Bob. And it's really, really working. Is we've set it up with good products and services that people want, and then we incentivize them to use them. And what we find is once they start using it, they stay with it. They look at their profile of what their dietary intake's been for the last week. They look at their sleep patterns. They look at their hydration and say, wow, I really haven't drank as much as I should. Maybe that's why I have a headache. So if we can get people just to be aware of little things, maybe it'll make a difference. Our goal is, man, what if that one person who has high blood, has their pulse rates off, maybe they go see the doctor and say, and we prevent one heart attack over the next 5 years. I don't care if you have 2,000 employees. If you get rid of one heart attack, one stroke,
sure,
one mastectomy becomes a lumpectomy. Not only could it save those people's lives, but it can make a huge impact on their health trend in the next 5 years. And then one more step on this too, Bob, is as we gather this, we get this information in aggregate. Now on your health insurance, we can have that data. We can get that to your underwriters, to your stop loss, and they can factor that in that, hey, a typical program for wellness gets 20% engagement and we don't really know the value of it, but functional lifestyle is getting about 70 or 80% engagement. And here's where it's all at. That can only help you in your underwriting for future renewals.
Wow. So I just want to make sure too that when you mentioned the great rewards they can get, the 25, 50, whatever, that's all part of the funding that doesn't come out of the company's pocket to do that.
That's correct.
Correct. And then tell me about the reporting. How often do you give that carrier, the company, or whatever? Is it monthly, or do they have a dashboard they can go to that they can look and see what's going on, or how is that managed?
Yes. So we can set up an administrative aggregate dashboard. So no employee information is shared. If you had a couple thousand employees, it might be, here's the 500 who have loaded the app so far. Here's the buttons that are being, these people have been using the telemed app. These people have been looking at the dietary. It could be a number of things, but yes, that can be shared in aggregate.
Okay. And then from that, so tell me what, you can probably talk about this. I'm sure you have access to national averages of what typical wellness programs see happening as far as percentage of engagement, employees getting engaged. Can you talk about that? And then how does yours compare to that number?
Yeah. So I think the national average of what I've looked at recently, and I'm trying to remember who posted it. But it was, what was pretty common was engagement with wellness was in the low 20 percentile.
Right.
But it really didn't specify what that engagement in wellness is. There's another stat out there that was, I think it was somewhere around 73, 74% of employees said, hey, I realize that I have a wellness plan and I can get preventative care through my health insurance at no cost. But I just don't do it. So employees oftentimes know that it's out there. They oftentimes know that it's affordable, if not free. So that engagement is key. And what we found is we can typically increase engagement 80 to 100% off of the norms. We can typically, and we're new into this, but this technology has shown 85% engagement in other countries. I'm confident, and they don't have the incentives that we've built
Right.
into it. So I'm confident we can get it north of 50%, which would be a, 100 to 150% improvement.
So how do you overcome the objection? You reach out to said company and they said, well, Tyson, this is great, but we already have a wellness program that's through our insurance program. We have now our carrier that we're paying for. They have teledoc, they have some incentives and so forth. How does this interfere or violate anything they have going, or does it bolt on, or how do you
Yeah.
overcome that? Because that's a conversation I've had with a lot of different HR people. And I go, Bob, I've got all this, and I'm afraid this is going to confuse the market. And I've told them my experience from being inside their facilities, coaching drivers and coaching corporate employees, that it's amazing how many of them don't even really realize what they do have in their benefit package. And so this is I would think, correct me if I'm wrong, is this really more of a compliment that you're bringing to them? It's not going to disrupt anything they have currently in play with their current medical plan, that's going to violate anything. If an employee uses a piece of what you're doing and not the others, that going to violate any kind of a claim they might file for anything?
Yeah, Bob, it sounds like you've been going on meetings with my producers, prospecting meetings, but presentations. It does not compete with other things. It doesn't interfere with other things. If somebody has a telemed app, as an example, you mentioned Dial Care, and they like it, hey, that's fantastic. I'd say if employees like it and they're really engaged with it, that's probably still, I would be really surprised if that was above 25%. But here's the cool thing about it is, if somebody is using that app, they can keep using that app. But through our services, if we give them additional apps or additional options, maybe they'll participate in those and that will increase it. But maybe us dripping the value of telemed to them and the ease of use above emergency room and above urgent care, maybe they go right back and they start using their Dial Care even more, which is only, again, a positive for the employer. Because, I'll give an example. We were running claims for a client that we have on health insurance side, and they had an inordinate amount of ER claims, and they were for headaches. So we took and built a campaign around telemed for headaches. So obviously we can't single out that one person, those two people having claims, but we can let everybody know, and we can package other high utilization things in there too that are probably better for urgent care or telemed, and create that conversation and that awareness. So even if they're not filling telemed inside our bubble, they're filling it at Dial Care that's already there. That's great. That just takes utilization off their health plan. That gets rid of $1,000 ER claim and moves it to telemed. We just help them with that message. And if they want to use some of the services inside of our app instead of Dial Care, that's fine too. The goal is to get employees the fastest, easiest, top of mind access to care wherever it is. We just want them to seek care. Most employees, as I mentioned, know that they have preventative care options. They just don't use them. So we want them to use anything. Anything is a start, is better than nothing. Yeah. As far as health insurance, any health insurance, you have a broker you work with that you love, hey, fantastic. This complements any health insurance plan, as would a wellness. This preventative care and functional medicine just complements it. And as I mentioned too, especially if you're self-insured, we're getting people more involved. We can track the value of getting them involved, and we can share that with your vendor for underwriting at renewal period.
Right on. So I just thought of something so is your platform transparent with whoever they have in play now, or they can just share them with the ag reporting?
We would share our data. We wouldn't share,
Sure.
as an example, if they had dial care, we wouldn't share any information with dial care. Dial care wouldn't share it with us.
I understand. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
But hopefully if, let's say, Bob, that if they knew what their engagement was with dial care, and maybe it was 20%, if we're encouraging and we're dripping this on them for these services, it would be great if they use their dial care, and then dial care comes back and says, hey, Bob, your company's utilization of our program has gone up 10% here in the last 2 months. That's great. That's what we want. It's that we just want people engaged. We don't care how they get engaged.
So do you also, this is something that's always, I want to ask this one last question, one of the things I always explain to HR people whenever we did put a wellness program in place, I would explain to them that they're probably going to experience a spike in their prescriptions, right? They're going to cost and so forth, because, we want, if so many people are, and especially drivers, are not taking their meds that they have high blood pressure. We encourage them and school them on they need to do that, because that will help enhance their results faster, right? They need to comply. Is that something that you're able to show them as well? Is that something that comes up in your experience when you're getting these engagement results? Is that something you've noticed, that they do see a rise in their prescription medication costs?
We actually don't see a rise. So this program includes a couple thousand of commonly prescribed generic pharmaceuticals at zero copay. So that's there. And secondly, if we get them engaged with our functional medicine doctor, our doctors are really good at one of the things that they love doing is analyzing prescriptions. And they tend to de-prescribe and help people with prescriptions that may be causing other issues, that if you have 3 or 4 prescriptions or 5 or 6, there's a good chance that one of those prescriptions that you're taking is because of an adverse effect of another prescription. So they help manage that, which has been really, really cool to watch. Just another set of eyes outside of your primary care physician and your pharmacist to help look at that for you.
So how are you feeling good? I mean, are you experiencing good feedback and results in companies adapting this wellness approach that you offer at no cost in the tax break? Are you seeing a positive response?
We are. Now, this program, as far as the tax incentive, has been around since ACA, so went through in 2010 or so. So it's nothing new. However, very few people, we feel, we haven't seen anything where somebody has actually created a preventative care and functional medicine program to wrap around that,
Sure.
which is we feel the full and our administration feels is the full intent of the code. So, but yeah, we see that this is the next generation of wellness and preventative care that can really help employers with engagement and claims and off their health insurance. And Bob and I this actually just came through. I think you'll have interest in that. We were talking to a vendor here yesterday who has a product that is meant for drivers. It's about the size of a small briefcase, and it is basically a health monitoring system that once a week they can check in on this health monitoring system. And I think this is something that's been near and dear to your heart in the past. Sure. We can hook it up through our app, compile that data, and then share that data with whoever needs to be shared with, such as maybe it's a company physician for those who have that. Maybe it's your primary care physician. Again, the goal is to create these tools and these services to make healthcare more accessible, more top of mind. And it's amazing just what There's one of my favorite quotes is all glory comes from daring to begin.
Uh,
The hard part is starting. If we can get somebody to for a week to snap a picture of every meal that they eat and it will start charting it for them, they'll keep doing it. If we can get them to pay attention to their steps for a week, they will keep doing it. If we can just get people engaged in a healthy behavior, it really makes a difference. If we can, I have a friend and he needed to lose some weight. He made one change. He cut out sweets in the evening and he will not eat after 7 o'clock. And then 6 months later, his weight was down. He's feeling so much better, but he started seeing results within a few weeks.
sure.
And it was just the hard part is getting through those first steps.
Yep.
And once you can create a habit. So we're trying to do that with technology, with positive reinforcement, with some financial incentives behind it. It's not going to work for everybody, but if we can get 25% of any population engaged, that's a big deal.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a big savings too. I mean, you said something there I've always said for years is, small steps equal big results.
Yes.
And the other thing I always have to drive home to people, it's not about motivation, it's about dedication, right? You got to be dedicated to the cause and doing the work. It's not easy and you got to do the work. So for those listening, then how do they get a hold of you, Tyson? How do they find out more if they want to reach out to you directly and get a presentation? How do we do that?
Sure, I appreciate it. It's Tyson at functional-lifestyle.com. So
Okay.
Tyson at functional-lifestyle.com. And you can always go to functional-lifestyle.com and just hit the, schedule a consult button too.
Yeah, so we'll make sure that Kaylin gets that address scrolled up here when we post this out there to everybody. So, all right, my new friend, I thank you so much for coming on. And, this podcast is about bringing companies and drivers and employees, solutions to their wellness need. And, of course, we're always very thankful to our friends at 10th Street. We couldn't do this without their help support. They're trucking's favorite driver lifecycle management platform. They bring it all to them and help them manage their business and stay compliant all in one place. So we thank 10th Street for their support. Okay, my friend, thanks, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Bob. I appreciate it.